Hi guys. So I just filmed this whole thing and then I come to find out that the audio has been corrupted. And so now I'm refilming in my pajamas. It's like 1:15 in the morning, so I'm hoping to get this video out tonight. Sorry for the delay. But today I wanted to talk to you about modern art. So when I was 17, I went to Italy for the first time and saw the David in Florence. It is a huge, beautiful classic statue, and it took Michelangelo 3 years to carve it from stone. So, much to my dismay and astonishment, my mom and I quickly noticed that there was a very large modern art piece depicting a hellscape, complete with a fully erect Satan, positioned prominently in an archway right near the David. I have tried to locate this piece through research and what my family remembers about it, but have not been very successful. But I could tell that it was of the modern art variety since it seemed to feature some mixed media and some photography. The juxtaposition between this crass modern art and the element of divine ever present in Michelangelo's work always stuck with me. And since I have tried to take note in my studies and see where things really started to go wrong in the visual arts. I've always loved Impressionism, but there's no doubt that this movement ushered in the concept of aesthetic relativism, whereby classical standards that honored the long-standing tradition of rendering were increasingly abandoned. So as the separation with objective standards continued, a belief that a piece of art's worth is only equal to the emotional reaction that it elicits, irrespective of skill level, became pervasive and is still the single biggest defining characteristic of modern art. It did not used to be this way. Artists would spend many years in an apprenticeship cleaning brushes and learning techniques and rendering. Until the Impressionist period, almost all serious artists were classically trained in realism and all time-honored techniques. As the perceived objective of art shifted, disturbing movements popped up that completely lacked an element of humanity and additionally required no talent or skill. The first movement like this that really offends me that comes to mind is Dadaism, which I have to concede did have an element of irony and comedy that successors seemed to lack. So the Dada movement came about as an anti-art movement, and artists were trying to break all of the existing rules. One of those existing rules is that you need to be trained, or talented, or both, to create influential art. So all of these talentless ass clowns hijacked the art movement and began focusing on art pranks, the ready-made, and placing found objects into the context of the gallery, thus raising them to the status of art. And the most prominent member of this movement, I think, was probably Duchamp, who graced us with such wonderful pieces as The Fountain, which is obviously a statement about the nebulous nature of art. Just because this is in a gallery doesn't mean that it's something that you shouldn't piss on. This was widely praised as avant-garde. Objectivism became impossible as the standards for what is good art and what is bad art were not only disregarded, but were turned completely on their head. This relativism somehow worsened after Dadaism and became particularly pronounced in abstract expressionism, pop art, and postmodernism. I thought it would be a good idea for this segment to take a little trip to the Seattle Art Museum, which I did today. So to give you an idea of what this museum is like, let's read the sign that I was greeted with. Seattle Art Museum honors Martin Luther King with a week of spotlight tours focused on works that speak to themes of race and social justice. Seattle Art Museum staff will facilitate conversation and offer personal responses based on artists and artworks currently on view in SAM galleries. So immediately upon entry, there is this monstrosity. According to the Seattle Art Museum, this painting, quote, tackles the legacy of the European avant-garde using irony and an acerbic wit to deconstruct the canon of art history, recasting iconic Western paintings with Black subjects as observers, agents, and narrators. He critiques a history in need of revision. Then there is, of course, the First Nation Gallery, which you would think would contain no modern art. Wrong. This beautiful visual display of rehashed cereal boxes is a true example of Native American genius and ingenuity. Let's see what the Seattle Art Museum has to say about this. The Breakfast series appropriates the form of the familiar cereal box and emblazons its surface with commentary on highly charged issues for the First Nations people, such as the environment, treaty rights, and land claims. The pop art-inspired graphics on the 5 boxes contain recognizable imagery, but upon closer inspection, we see that Tony the Tiger is composed of form-line design elements. The box of Lucky Beads includes a free plot of land in every box and contains 12 essential lies and deception. I moved through the museum in search of less racially charged modern art. At this point, I just wanted to stare at something inoffensive. So I was, for the first time in my life, happy to see a Rothko painting. Now, a talentless child could do this. I stared at it for a few moments but was unable to conjure any emotional response. So Rothko said about this painting, quote, "I'm interested only in expressing basic human emotions. And the fact that lots of people break down and cry when confronted with my pictures shows that I communicate those basic emotions. The people who weep before my pictures are having the same religious experience as when I painted them. And if you, as you say, are moved only by their color relationships, then you miss the point." Rothko, like most talentless artists, focuses only on the emotional reaction elicited from the piece, and never the actual merit of the piece. He even shames the viewer in this quote, noting that if you aren't moved by the entirety of the composition, you just don't get it, you fucking pleb. And it is this intellectual circle jerk, this elitist mentality, that began to plague art and Impressionism and now has completely consumed it. My tour of the museum felt complete when I found this very plain box, which, wait for it, was playing a recording of the making of said box. Yes, sawing, hammering, the whole shebang. The art of our time demonstrates our culture of depression and malaise. Artists used to try to find God in everything that they did. Now they just create worthless art because they have God complexes. I think that this is the source of inspiration for some performance art, like spirit cooking, for example. There seem to be performance art pieces that are ritualistic and exclusive. As we have moved away from Christianity, which forces one to be humbled before God, we've developed a sense of atheistic egoism that is seriously unprecedented in human history. And without objective standards for artistry, the artist's ego has been allowed to inflate to divine status, which precludes the possibility of self reflection or betterment. And worse yet, these artists have been surrounded by sycophantic leftist elites throughout their entire careers. So they never had to develop what would have formerly been a requisite level of skill and technique to achieve artistic success. Unfortunately, to remedy the issue of bad modern art, we will need a complete cultural overhaul, and I believe probably a return to Christianity. This is not a problem with art, as art is a reflection of society. Multiculturalism and hedonism and egoism, those are our real problems, as is evidenced by the art that you've seen today. So thank you for watching, and I just wanted to give a big thanks to my new patrons this month, and my old patrons, and for a very generous 1 Bitcoin donation that I got today. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you very much. So thank you, and I will see you again soon. Bye.